Hey everybody, this is Chris with Thunder Consulting. I wanted to talk through a solution that we've put together that really benefits, and I would say is geared more towards companies that do professional services billing. So we have a tool called Mission Control, and I've used many different PSA tools over the years. There's been always kind of a variable level of success when it comes with a lot of the off-the-shelf offerings, when it comes to how they're able to invoice, what the invoice looks like, customers, kind of flexibility around what it looks like, even the actual output document that customers see. That was a struggle that Thunder had, and in solving that for Thunder, it was actually something that we decided it worked so well for us that we've gone and packaged it. So this is something that we now offer to any company that would be doing professional services invoicing, that's unhappy or wants to streamline their current solution into something a little bit more efficient, a little bit more flexible. This does rely on Salesforce billing to do invoice presentation, and the way that this package is structured is it actually takes anything that does time entry and consolidates it through a standardized billing event or similar object. So this works in your mission controls, your financial force, most of the kind of out of the box, off the shelf tools that run on the Salesforce platform. It can also be customized if you guys are doing anything relative to like a custom invoicing or a custom time tracking solution in Salesforce today. As long as the information and the time entries themselves relative to what's being billed out, how many hours, as long as that's in the system, the solution can be configured to support your needs. So as I'm kind of going through here and talking about this, I'll give you guys a little bit of a tour, but I did have a couple billing events already teed up here in Mission Control, which is it's how we track time here at Thunder. So I'm gonna go ahead and flip this real quick, flip these to issued, the status on this billing event. That's actually going to be what kicks off our package and actually invoices these billing events, generates an invoice in Salesforce billing, and then can ultimately do invoice presentation through a Conga, a DocuSign, or other actual invoice presentation software. I'm going to do all three. It does take just a bit for the automation to run in the background. I'll give you guys a tour once I get these kicked off here, and we'll talk about the fields that have been added, what the fields do, and how they facilitate kind of ease of jumping around between the two systems here. Just issued. So 3 demo events, and these again are all billing events. To give you just a quick 1 second review, basically, each billing event is going to have a billing event item. You may have many items to a time log, or many time logs to an item. As you can see, we've got 8 time entries. These are all fictitious. The hours are made up. The project isn't real. The rates aren't real. Everything's made up here in a staging environment. But again, we've got these time logs. So keep in mind, there are 8 of these. As you can see, there's 2 for each resource. Mike has 2, Sarah has 2, I have 2, Josh has 2. The hours are variable, as professional services billings generally are. But I wanted to show you guys the automation that we have, and the issue that we faced was really around the way that Mission Control Invoice natively was, like, hey, here's the amount that's due for the period, right? There wasn't any kind of granularity that went into this. There was no detail. There was no, being able to adjust it even. So we've taken that and we've created this invoice granularity field, which hooks into our automation and then really dictates how invoices are presented and what they look like. So we've got 3 options. We've got most detailed, which is going to take every time entry that your person that's doing your billings, right, your resource that's allocated to an assignment, somebody that's going out and actually doing work performed. Every entry they have will be transferred or translated to an invoice line relative to the dates, the amount of time, the rate at the time that they've billed at. It's great because you can have the same resource maybe committed, again, especially if it's somebody in the field. They may have a standard rate and they may have an overtime rate. All of that can be captured here, and then it can be displayed as individual invoice lines, so people will know we paid X amount at standard rate, we paid more at the overtime rate, or maybe it's all the same rate. But we still want to know what days we're being billed what hours, what times, like all that can be exposed. The next option we have is consolidated but detailed. So it's still going to break out, as I showed, we have 8 time entries across 4 resources. This option will do 4 invoice lines. So it's going to say, for every resource that builds for the project, we're not going to do multiple entries, but we will show you who built across the project and how many hours they billed for the period of time that we're invoicing. So again, at most detailed, we're going to get 8 invoice lines. This consolidated view, we're going to get 4 because we've got 4 resources. So it'll show totals for each resource. No details, single invoice line is going to be kind of what we had, more out of the box than what we were working with in standard mission control. It's going to say, hey, here's your invoice. This is the amount of hours cumulatively that have been billed for this period of time, which in this instance, it's the month of February. It'll have total hours count, total rate, and then the total amount that's due. We do also have some fields here. So Salesforce billing invoice, this will be populated, and I'll go ahead and refresh now. I think it's probably been long enough for our automation to run. There we go. So now you can see automations are in the background. Now we have a direct link to an invoice, which is a Salesforce billing invoice. We also have some fields that keep, anybody that's actually running billing event generation, it keeps everything in sync, right? So you can see, here's the link to the invoice. You can jump straight to it. It is generated in a draft status. We can auto post these if we need to, but it is, a direct, this is pulled in formulaically. So it's, again, more informational. It also shows whether or not the invoice has been paid, when it was billed, when it's due. These fields, obviously, more can be added should the customer have, a requirement to add additional context here for whoever's running this. Again, these fields can be created in your financial force object, in your custom homebrew PSA tool, anything, as long as it exists in Salesforce, we can map these fields. So let's take a look at these invoices. We got invoice 37, 38, and 39. We'll just start at 37. So again, this was the most detailed. So as you'll see, we have 8 invoice lines. Again, it's got total by the number of hours, which comes across reflected by quantity, the total number of billings, respect to quantity. This is the most detailed. Your invoice will have 8 invoice lines. I won't pull up Conga and show you guys like an output document. This all translates and is able to be shown. You can show the resource name, hourly rate, total billings, number of hours. You can also expose the dates and times that they billed. If that's the level of granularity you want, that's something that can all be published on that invoice line and then surface on an output document. Next, we'll go to the consolidated view. So in lieu of 8 invoice lines, you'll notice now we have 4. Again, we have 4 resources that build to this project. So it is summing those hours. So we've got, again, one resource billed a total of 13 hours, one billed a total of 8, one billed a total of 6, and one billed a total of 11. And it is, again, adding up that information. Instead of doing single entries, it's taking what they billed for the time period, adds it all together, and then surfaces that as a summarized invoice line. The least granular, again, single invoice line is basically, you're going to send something to a customer and say, hey, you owe us this amount. If you want details, call us. This shows a total of 38 hours. And again, the invoice amount is for the total number of hours, which is blended in this case just to get the math to match. It can, obviously, again, sometimes you're going to have resources that have different billable rates and all that. And this will still handle that and account for it. Everything will come up and be accurate and reflect whatever the billing event totals are. Anything that you are pushing out of that PSA system will be accurate when it gets to billing, the way that this automation is set up. So again, we're looking at it. The billing events were all the same. Your totals are going to be all the same. And then from here, it's the standard Salesforce billing application, right? You can generate an invoice document, send it out to a customer, collect payment. You can do adjustments, debits, credits, whatever it is that you would need to do. Since this is in Salesforce billing, you have lots of options as well to bolster how you're doing accounting. So anything that you would need to do as far as like recognizing revenue on the amount of hours that you've billed, that can be done here using revenue recognition rules, revenue transactions within Salesforce billing. We can push that to an ERP. Thunder is also a partner with RightRev. So, again, if you needed something, a little bit kind of above and beyond the standard functionality, that is something that can be done. Although typically, like professional services billings don't get super complicated. So this is an offering that we have. It's available today. Anybody that would be interested in this, feel free to send us a message. We'd be happy to talk about, what it looks like as far as a timeline to get it in your guys' org and get you guys realizing those benefits as soon as possible. It is, something off the shelf that we can kind of tailor to you. So, if you think, potentially this would be something that you'd be interested in, absolutely let us know. Doesn't hurt to have a conversation. But it can absolutely, streamline and enhance how you guys are doing these, the invoicing of your customers from your professional services engagements. And it gives you flexibility, right? So as we, have talked about, these billing events, you can dictate, this granular level of invoice. You can specify that relative to an account, to a project. You can set defaults across the org. You can change it all. Again, we have a lot of things that we can do with automation to make your invoicing less of a chore. So again, let us know. We're here, we're available, and we've got staff ready to implement this for you. So hope you have a great rest of the day, and thanks for watching.